Hello, my name is Bree Wilson, and I am presenting the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals as my interest group. What is the ASPCA? The ASPCA is a public interest group that focuses on animal rights. It is one of America's largest nonprofits that has more than 2 million supporters. In 2016, it made the top 100 of Forbes' largest charities, and it came in at number 86 with $173 million in private donations. The ASPCA began in 1866 by its founder, Henry Bergh. The idea started in Russia when Henry stopped a carriage driver from beating his horse. When he returned to New York City, he realized that something needed to be done to protect animals. During the next year, the ASPCA had the first ambulance for horses in 1867. Over the years, the organization focused on puppy mills, dog fighting, cruelty prevention, hoarding, and natural disasters such as Hurricane Katrina. The ASPCA played a role in Michael Vick's dog fighting sting in 2007. It also partnered with NYPD, and the amount of cruelty arrests drastically increased. The increase was by 200%. Although their partnership had led to an increased amount of arrests, the ASPCA lobbied for legislation to make more laws to protect animals. In 2018, the ASPCA spent $80,000 in lobbying. They also focused on issues such as pets of domestic violence victims, dog breeding regulations, and animal fighting. Some more lobbying was that was raised for politicians. Most of their donations were given to Democrats. In 2018, 91% of $12,866 was given to Democrats. 5 out of 9 ASPCA lobbyists held government jobs. Democrat Luba Gretchen Shirley is running to be the next U.S. Congress representative of New York. The ASPCA donated $5,900 to her campaign, and O'Rourke Beto was given $1,971. Next is this graph that shows their overall lobbying spending on Democrats versus Republicans. So as you can see, the Democrats were given a much higher proportion of funds. Apart from lobbying on different candidates, they also lobby for various legislations. They lobbied for Bill H.R. 113, which is the Safeguard American Food Exports Act. This bill was introduced to Congress on January 25, 2017. The Safeguard American Food Exports Act prohibits the sale of equines for food consumption. Another piece of legislation that the ASPCA supported is Bill H.R. 398, the Help Extract Animals from Red Tape Act, otherwise known as the HART Act. This act was introduced by Representative John Katko on January 10, 2017. This act would require the government to send notice of the seizures to interested parties within 30 days. The notice period may be extended if a delay is warranted. Some of these delays would include providing shelter for the animal, the health of the animal, and increased risk of a delay that could necessitate the euthanasia of an animal. The last law that the ASPCA is working on is the Cost of Care Bill. The Cost of Care Bill would shift the responsibility of medical costs, food, and other expenses to the owner who has been charged with animal cruelty. As seen in the chart, if an animal is seized by police, the owner will be notified and brought to court. If found guilty, the owner must post a bond to cover the expenses of the abused animal. The bond would go to the organization or agency that is caring for the animal. If the owner does not post the bond, the agency would keep the animal and adopt it out. In order for the ASPCA to promote all of its agendas, it uses these various strategies. Money is spent on fundraising, lobbying, commercials, programs, and fundraising was the largest amount of the budget. Over $52 million is spent on fundraising. One of the most popular commercials is by Sarah McLaughlin. Her song Angel helped draw many donations, which totaled nearly $112 million in 2008. Some say this commercial is an aggressive fundraising tactic. Some other expenses was $771,000 to MBS Associates for advertising. Of that $771,000, only $400,000 was spent on the Dog Walk fundraiser, and unfortunately, the fundraiser only raised $14,000. Many were outraged by the use of the ASPCA spending. At the end of 2017, the ASPCA claimed $273 million in assets. Chief Executive Matthew Bershacker took home $804,372 in pay for the year, with a bonus of $276,000. He is one of the highest paid individuals in the humane movement. This source comes from animals247.org. On a lighter note, besides a huge chunk of its money going to the CEO, the ASPCA is currently challenging politics that impact animal welfare. The CEO wrote an article that opposes the USDA's removal of Public Animal Welfare Act. He also challenged the USDA's plan to use third-party organizations for inspections. He urges supporters to support government inspections instead of third-party choices. He says, "It appears the agency wants to abandon its responsibility for inspecting puppy mills, zoos, research laboratories, and other animal facilities, and leave the fate of those vulnerable animals in the hands of private groups, often closely tied to the very industries being inspected. Even without conflict of interest, meaningful inspections will likely be infrequent and inadequate. The USDA is holding a public listening sessions over the next 2 months in Maryland, Missouri, Ohio, and Florida, as well as a virtual session. If you can attend or submit a comment, I encourage you to be a strong voice for animals by supporting government inspections that are meaningful." Not only is the CEO upset with the USDA, but he is opposed with Trump's budget proposal. Trump wants to cut funding for the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. They can save money by selling horses, which could end up in the meat trade. Livestock interests support this because the region is shared by 59,000 Mustangs who compete for land. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association and other interests have been urging BLM for years to allow the sale of wild horses for slaughter to free up room in overcrowded government corrals. The ASPCA strongly disagrees with this and does not support this decision. Overall, the ASPCA tries its best to get involved with legislation that affects animals, but spends most of its money on advertisement and fundraising than actual lobbying and donation to shelters. This interest group is trying its best, but needs to make an effort to spend more money responsibly. For sources used, please see the reference section. Thank you for listening.